This is a download from BFM 89.9, the business station.
Good afternoon, this is Tech Talk and my name is Jeff Sandhu and I'm here today with Krishna Rajagopal. He's the CEO of AKATI Consulting and he hasn't been here for a very long time. Krishna,
Yes,
welcome
Jeff.
back.
Thanks, Jeff.
And there is a reason why we brought you back, especially towards the end of the year, is because it's that time again where we look back at 2014 and this time we're obviously with you, we're going to look back at the security world, the spy world or, whatever you want to call it, cyber crimes, So how did things go as far as computer security is concerned in 2014? Was it like a boring year for cybersecurity or was it an eventful one?
Well, Jeff, thanks for having me back. 2014 was such an eventful year. It was almost like soap opera for us, right? Call it Twilight, call it whatever you want, whatever series that you like. As soon as people were starting to say, Happy New Year, the hackers were getting straight to work.
Wow.
There was a survey statistics from the Global CEO Survey, which said in 2014, 69% of the people who responded to the survey, which are all global CEOs, say that they were very, very, very worried about the impact of cybersecurity threats on their own growth prospects. And it's interesting because just 1 year ago, there was only less than 40% who said that. So within a year, almost 30% has increased. And people around our neighboring countries have also taken a bold step. For example, what's happening in China. They set up a information security think tank.
Wow.
Right? They called it a leading group on information security, internet management. And the best part is the leader is President Jinping himself. Right? He heads this thing. And it's interesting because in China, 70% of their computer users are still using Windows XP.
Oh.
That's about, if you look at a figure, that's about 200 million odd computers, right? Which has no support, means no patches, no updates. And they seriously need to look at that. And I would like to quote something from Jinping. He said this at the launch of this think tank. He said, no information security, no national security. No national security, no informatization, and no modernization. So he has put information security as the root cause of modernization. He says if there is no information security, there is no national security, and therefore no modernization. I think a lot of countries have to take that step.
Yeah.
So that's basically what happened in 2014. It was a very, very eventful year. A lot of things happened. And I think there's a lot of interesting changes as far as policy is concerned that has happened across the group.
Correct, and also here in Malaysia we have the the PDPA took in place and
That's
all that
true.
kind of thing. All right. So anyways, what was the most popular incidents that kept you and your team busy in 2014?
Right. Well, I actually got married December last year.
Congrats!
And, thanks.
We haven't had a time to talk about that on air, but for a different show.
Yeah. But when I got married, I said, I told my wife, I said, don't worry, next year I'll travel less, right? And I'll spend more time. But that unfortunately did not happen. Yeah. We had a lot of unique cases, and I think in reverse chronological order, I would say, starting with the recent ATM heist that took place in Malaysia, where ATM machines were spitting out cash, all the way to our very, very grave incident of the 370 and the MH17. And when that incident happened, there was a lot of cyber attacks that followed it, which was very, very sophisticated. And also, we had one very interesting case where cyber criminals were actually forming a pact with politicians and at an attempt to rig elections at a particular country. So that was a first in the world for us, and we were involved in that case, and it was very interesting, right? But as they say, crime does not pay, so so
Did work out.
Didn't work out for them. So anyway, at the end of this year, I guess I'm going to say the same thing back to my wife. So I'm going to say next year I'll probably spend more time.
Probably not going to happen as well.
Glad I'm not divorced yet.
Now, how about the traditional attacks, like, the Trojans or the ransomware? Was it still popular in 2014?
Yes, unfortunately, they're still popular, but then with a little twist. See, in 2014, the couple of statistics that I have, there's about 85,000 new pieces of malware discovered in 2013. Right? Sorry, in 2014. That's about 68 to 70% increase over 2013. That's a lot. And on Android devices alone, we found about 40 million infections. Right? And we believe that's going to double in 2015. That's going to be 80 million. And funny part is about 60 to 70% of these attacks are targeted towards financial gain. So they're not there to do social service anymore. It's more of trying to get at your personal data. It's all about PII, right? Personally identifiable information, and also trying to look at a angle where either I can leak information or I could lock your device and make money out of it through ransomware, right? And the funny part is, if you look at the top 10 countries that are targeted in terms of malware, we should not be worried, because we should be rejoicing Malaysia's in the top 10, right? We're right at number 10 this year. If you look at the top 20 most targeted countries in terms of cyber attacks, we're also there. We're number 17.
Oh, wow.
So Malaysia boleh. We're still there.
Why is it? Why is that so? Why is Malaysia such an attractive?
I would suggest because the adoption of technology in Malaysia is always more greater, right? We're always more keen on adopting new technology. And at times, organizations also jump into new technology headfirst.
Yeah, without knowing what.
Without looking at security. So sometimes also security is afterthought for us. So perhaps because of that. And also I would say that we've been on news too much this year. So,
not for the good reasons.
Not for the good reasons. So people sort of opened up their eyes and say, there's this country now. Right? Let's go and target them. So that's probably why we've been very popular this year.
And especially during the times that, we are facing challenges or struggles, due to, national tragedy or something. Yes. That's where they hit us.
Right after that. In fact, in the first hour or so, some of the organizations were already getting attacks. Right, so they didn't give us a chance.
Now, 2014 was also known as was known for information leakage attacks in the cyber world. Will 2015 be any different, though?
I highly doubt it's going to be any different. But here's a very interesting thing. Look at this. If we take real data from a command and control center of a malware. One particular server that we took had about 5,700 infected computers. Now we look at that and we look at an average of about 3%, 2 to 3% of those users paid the ransom. And we look at that with an average of a $200 per ransom. That's pretty low. We're coming up to about $33,000 a day.
Wow.
That's about 300 to 400 $300,000 to $400,000 a month. Some big companies don't make that much money. So there is a demand and there is a motivation for them. Plus, again, if you have to look at it, a price of, let's just say, a stolen Gmail credential. In 2011, it cost about $117. And then in 2013, the price dropped to $100. So, because there are more players in the market. So there are more competition. So when the cost of stolen data drops, competition increases. So these guys have to do more. They have to focus on customer service. They have to go deeper, making sure that their customers don't get caught. Right? So they're really going out to make sure that the customers are happy, they're not getting caught. Those people who are buying these stolen credentials. So we would think that in 2015, information leakage is still going to be a very, very big concern, especially with PDPA in Malaysia. Right? Companies have to look at it seriously.
Correct.
They have to go beyond just compliance.
Right.
And just beyond baseline.
Information leakage just sounds like a whole business itself,
Yes. In fact, there was a case where Target got breached last year in the US, and a lot of credit card numbers were stolen. And we know who did it, right? The guy has a website in Panama. And the best part is he even posts selfies about himself. And he even has, holiday promotions. One classic card, $4.99. Platinum card, $12. Bundle of 5, 2 platinum, 3 gold, So he even has promotions, but you can't do anything.
Wow.
because he's shielded himself.
Mm,
That's the problem. It's a big
Clever business.
Yeah.
I'm speaking to Krishna Rajagopal. He's the CEO of AKATI Consulting, and we are looking back at the security world of 2014. And in just a moment, we will take a look at what's going to happen. And in just a moment, we will give you the top 10 predictions of the security trend in 2015. This is Tech Talk on BFM 89.9. This is Tech Talk, and my name is Jeff Sandhu, and I'm speaking to Krishna Rajagopal, the CEO of AKATI Consulting. And early on, we just did a roundup of the security stories in 2014. So, Krishna, what are your top 10 predictions for security trend in 2015?
Well, okay. If you look at the top 10 predictions, I mean, first of all, if you look at the industries, we're looking at the financial industry being a target. We're looking at the government, public sector being a target. We're looking at transportation, retail, and accommodation being a target. These were the industries that never looked at security seriously in the past, right? But nowadays, because people are using their credit card to purchase a train ticket, a flight, or even hotels, it is becoming more and more popular. Right? So in terms of the top 10, the first thing we're looking at is we think that users are still going to be targeted. But then they will be victims. Users will be victims of cyber attacks, but they will not be direct targets. So criminals are not going to be targeting your Windows PC at home. Rather, they're going to be targeting large corporations that has your information. Right? In that way, you're still going to be a victim, right? But you would not be a direct target. For example, we will see a lot more RAM scrapers being used, right? A lot more POS, point of sales malware being used, and a lot more ATM targeted malware is being used as well in 2015. So that's the first thing that we looked at. Number two, we think there's going to be more and more darknets coming up. So and criminals are going to be shielding themselves behind these darknets, right? As I said, the retail price of stolen credentials are dropping. These guys have to go at greater length to shield themselves and to shield the customers as well. So we think they're going to be more creative darknets coming up where criminals can go and they can have this exchange, a retail market exchange for them to share ideas and sell their loot. That's the second thing we think. The third thing we think is it's mobile. Everything we think of in 2014 is going to have a mobile twist, right? So they're going to be more and more. In 2014, for example, we had a lot of browser-based exploits. But in 2015, it's going to be mobile-based exploits.
What's
exploit kits that are going to be targeted at mobile. So somebody could be selling a set of exploits that are targeting Android for $100. If you buy this, 2 out of 3 times you probably get into an Android phone. So there are going to be a lot of those kind of things coming up, targeting the popular mobile operating systems. That's iOS, Android, and of course Windows and BlackBerry. We think that Android-based attacks are going to be doubled from 4 million in 2014 to 8 million. And ransomware is going to look at your mobile. So we're going to have mobile ransomware. So imagine if you have to make that phone call. Your wife's angry with you, and then that's the moment your phone is locked. And the guy says, pay me 10 bitcoins or you can't make a call.
Oh,
right? So people are going to take your phones or your mobile devices for ransom. Right? And then, of course, number 4 is we're going to have new kids on the block. See, in 2014, 2013, whenever you say advanced system threat or attacks against countries, we're talking about Russia, China, US, right? But then in 2015, you're going to have new kids on the block, right? Countries like Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, maybe Sri Lanka, right? Singapore are going to be targets, right? They are going to be targets for APT, right? And people are going to be looking at turning away from traditional security devices of like firewalls and stuff and going towards security analytics. So you would see a lot of companies setting up SOCs, Security Operations Center, to be looking at their security statistics to see if are we under attack or not, right? And the next thing, number 5, is I think, with this whole trend of NFC going in, the NFC-based solutions are going to give us a new threat.
Yeah, especially when all credit cards are all now being linked.
Especially
to
with
NFC,
Google Wallet.
Yeah.
We saw as soon as Google Wallet came out, there was already a fake Android ID vulnerability targeting the Google Wallet. And then now with Apple Pay coming along the way, you will find that there is a lot of focus on this. And especially with your credit cards in there, people are going to be targeting that.
Yeah.
Another twist that we saw was that in Asia, for example, you have got apps like Line, WeChat, that also offer coins, right? Some kind of a currency. So we think they're going to target that as well, right? By sending some kind of link that attacks these devices and these chat programs and steal your coins, for example, right? And of course, in number six, of course, in 2014, we had all kinds of stuff, right? The heart was bleeding, the shell was shocking, we had poodles, we had all kinds of big vulnerabilities, legacy vulnerabilities that took surface in this year. We think that's going to continue. And they're going to have more new vulnerabilities that are targeting legacy systems, open source systems. So open source is going to be the biggest target for 2015, at least for now, right? And number 7, I think banks and telcos are still going to be targets, right, of cyber criminals, because that's where the dough is, that's where the mullah is, and there's going to be more and more advanced malware. See, I see sometimes organizations are still talking about Zeus as an online banking, but that's like, you're talking about a 1970 Ford in the year 2015, because that's an old Trojan. It's old, right? The kind of malware we've seen in 2014 sends shivers through the spine, like Vortrack, for example. Just the name itself sounds scary, right? So, and it is scary, very scary, very, very advanced. So we think more of those are going to come up, and they're going to come in to target mobile banking, and also because there's mobile wallets, mobile banking, mobile money. That's why we say banks and telcos, because now they're going to target not just banks but telcos as well, right? So we're going to be prepared. Banks have to be prepared for fake mobile banking applications. We see sometimes certain banks posting up their Android mobile banking application or their iOS, and they get the developers to upload it for them. That's a dangerous sign, because then the users will not know if this is a real bank app or not, right? We've caught one guy with 40 different fake online banking applications, right?
Wow.
On Google Play, and all of them were fake. So we're going to see more of those coming up, right? And number 8, I would say, is that the new digital goldmine is information. So it's all about information. Yeah. So that is the key, and that's cash. So there's going to be increase in insider threats.
That's the real digital currency in a way. It's the information.
Yes. It's information. And you would find either direct insider threats or indirect insider threats, right? Outsiders making use of your staffs to steal information. So you would need data loss prevention. DLP is a must. It's no longer a luxury or a nice to have. And like the guy I was telling you that was behind the Target crime, Andre, people like him will benefit as long as companies don't look at information seriously. So information protection is serious, and insider threats. So companies have to be protected from insider threats. That's number 8. And of course, number 9, I would say there's a lot of talk on Internet of Things, right? Different devices. But here's my take on things, right? We think Internet of Things will be targeted, but hackers are not going to be targeting their vulnerabilities, right? Because the variety of technology is just too wide for them to come up with an exploit that works on 2 TVs or 3 TVs. So what they're going to be doing is targeting the data that is moving from one device to another and exposing that data, right? For example, I have a watch that is connected, and I have a phone, right? Now, they're not going to be targeting the watch because at the moment, there are no major players down there, right? So, and the technology in the watch may be different from one to another, one brand to another. So what they are going to do is not target on the watch, but rather target on the data exchange between my phone to my watch. And that most of the time, is unencrypted. Especially with the most popular smartwatches right now. So those kind of things, when your device is communicating with the TV, they're going to be intercepting that. So that's what we think is going to happen. But now that you have Open Interconnect Consortium, then you've got HomeKit by Apple. Those will change. That will change the scenario maybe in 2016. Maybe then you would probably get things like smart cards. You could have smart car getting ransomed. Right? Imagine that, right? It has already been done.
Yeah.
There was a team in this year in Zhejiang University that infected a malware on a Tesla.
Oh dear.
Tesla Model S, and they allowed it. I mean, the malware allowed them to honk the horn, lock the doors, right? Flash the lights. So imagine that happens.
Wow.
Imagine you're stuck in your car and they said, pay us 100 bitcoins, otherwise you've got nowhere to go.
Yeah.
That's a big trouble, right?
Wow.
So that's going to happen not in 2015, but rather in 2016.
Okay.
But for now, people have to be worried about exchange of data. Data is going to be leaked out from these devices. And the last thing is, as people say, old is gold. So the old attacks, right, are going to have a new Web 2.0 twist to it. So injections, cross-site scripting, they're going to be there, but with a Web 2.0 twist to it. So we're going to see them targeting new areas. So we're going to have XPath injections. Those kind of things are going to be popular in 2015, right? So things like what happened to JP Morgan, where 84 or 82 million customers' information was at risk. We've got to understand that that's a wake-up call. JP Morgan spends about $250 million on their IT security budget. So if they can go through that, a lot of us probably could go through that as well.
True.
So, and that was a traditional attack vector. It was not a high-end attack vector, right? So that's something that will happen. Old techniques are going to take a new twist and come back in 2015, targeting Web 2.0. So that's basically the top 10 in a nutshell.
Wow. Top 10 of what's probably going to happen in
2015, yeah.
Just going back to 2014, what was the most scariest attack that you if either you worked on it or you seen it or you read about it?
I think personally, interesting and scary would have been the ATM heist in Malaysia. This is because this is the same thing that we've been telling banks for years, but it was always going on to a blind ear, right? Sorry, a deaf ear, not a blind ear. If that was even possible. But then again, they don't take it seriously. Some banks do, some don't, right? And a lot of them were running outdated operating systems, right? Simple stuff. We never thought that someone would do it, but it was doing, right? And in fact, if you look at that situation and that whole modus operandi, it's very interesting how they even do it, because we've seen cases like that. We were involved in a similar case in Africa where we first saw it ever in the world. Yeah. And then the second time was in Mexico. And then the third time it happened was somewhere in Germany, but we were not involved in that case. And then fourth was in Malaysia, where we were involved. And every time they change their style, right? And there is a growing sentiment of distrust between the criminals themselves. So in Malaysia, for example, the guys on ground were not even trusted by their boss. So the malware had a split command and control. So there's a certain part of it that requires the input from the boss. So it's very interesting. So we thought that's going to be something interesting that financial institutions have to look out for. And there's going to be more of that to come in 2015. Not just in Malaysia, for a lot of other countries. Because a lot of other countries have not had this attack.
True.
Right? And they're still sitting down there relaxing. Right? And when it hits, that's when it happens too fast. So that's probably one. And of course, with the national incident, I think that's also very, very sad. And that would have been, it will always leave a memory. But unfortunately, there's nothing much we can say about that.
I've been speaking to Krishna Rajagopal. He's the CEO of AKATI Consulting, and we were taking a look back of the security world in 2014, also what to watch out in 2015. This has been Tech Talk on BFM 89.9.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. To find more great interviews, go to bfm.my or find us on iTunes. BFM 89.9, the business station.